Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I believe that we're live now. So I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The Twiggs County Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, August 25th, and the time is 6:04 p.m. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. At this time, I'll say that we have all of our members present. We have myself, Jenny Rainey, Chair. We have our Vice Chair, Mr. Isaiah Rouse, present. We have Ms. Teresa Blackshear, Ms. Shirley Stokes, and we have Mr. Harris here present. And we have our Superintendent, Mr. Dixon, present and ready to conduct our meeting this evening. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening, and that is for August the 25th, 2020.
Madam Chair, if we could remove tonight the salary high to low sheet, item C, and we will move that to another meeting, please.
Okay, so you've heard our superintendent's request to remove item C, to remove the salary FY21 high to low sheet. We need to remove that with everything else on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with that exception?
Madam Chair, I make the motion to approve with the exception of moving item C. I make the exception to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second? I see Ms. Stokes. You said I second. Okay, Ms. Stokes seconded the motion. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, fellow board members, since we are moving that item, we need to know if we're moving that item to the following board meeting, or we can anticipate hearing that or seeing, visualizing that at what time frame. If we're moving it, we have to move it to somewhere.
Okay. Mr. Dixon, when will we move that till, please?
The following board meeting.
Thank you, Superintendent Dixon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Ms. Stokes, you say aye as well? I see Ms. Stokes, she says aye. And so that motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. Our next item will be the approval of the minutes of our August the 11th, 2020, our BOE regular session. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Chair, I made the motion.
The motion has been made by Mr. Rouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Stokes, do you say aye? I think she's on the phone. She's needs to turn her mic on. Okay. Ms. Stokes, for the minutes of our August the 11th meeting, what do you say?
She said aye.
She said aye. Okay, I can have a hard time. Okay, thank you for that. That motion also carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, so our next item will be the ethics statement from Ms. Blackshear. Turn your mic on, Ms. Blackshear.
Thank you. In accordance with regulations set forth by the Georgia Ethics Commission, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflict of interest or interest of such conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest? Seeing none, Madam Chair, we will proceed with our agenda.
Thank you for that, Ms. Blackshear. Okay, Mr. Dixon, do you have any comments?
Madam Chair, I just want to say that it's a great time to be in Twigs. Mr. Vice Chair, we're glad to have you back with us on tonight. We've had a good week. Our first week was a very interesting week. We started today with our hotspot distribution. It's been very busy around the office. I want to say thank you to our technology department for working very hard, those that have been assisting our technology department in making sure that we get our technology out. It's some very unprecedented times going on right now. I want to say thank you to our stakeholders for their patience with us as we tread this uncharted waters. We're very thankful for your patience with us. I want to say thank you to the administration and the staff for your work that you're doing as we're going into this virtual learning. It's some uncharted waters for all of us, but we're doing the very best that we can. Thank you to this board for your part that you have played in making sure that the boys and girls have the best instructional materials that we could possibly have, the best technology that we can possibly have. Even though we may not have all that we need, we're trying to provide the very best that we can provide. So it's an exciting time to be in Twigs in the year of 2020. There's a lot going on. This year is an election year. But in the main focus of scholars, this is time that we have to educate our boys and girls. Our Thursday talks have gone really well. We meet every Thursday at 6:00 p.m., but we stated that once school starts that we would meet every other Thursday. So we met last Thursday, so we won't meet this Thursday. We will meet next Thursday. But those have been very informative talks and an opportunity for our stakeholders to be engaged with us. We will, once we do this distribution, we will have an additional distribution up to the number of computers, devices that we have that we can give out. So if you missed the first sign up, you will have an opportunity to submit your names again. So we're trying to meet all of the possible needs that we can meet with devices. There's been an overwhelming number of responses. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve the boys and girls of Twigs County, and we are looking forward. I want to continue to encourage the parents to make sure that your students are getting up, logging on, and we are constantly evaluating and reevaluating what we are doing. We know that this is a trying time for you as well, and we are aware of that, we're cognizant of that, and we are making adjustments as we go. So if it seems like we make a decision this week, we adjust something this week, it's for the best interest of you and your child. So thank you for giving us a chance to serve your children. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Dixon. There's one thing I do want to mention to our board, and this was brought to my attention by our district representative, District 12 representative for our GSBA, and that is our board governance training. It is due. The deadline is October the 15th, but we certainly want to finish that by September the 30th. Now, I want to make sure I'm correct when I say last year at Christmas, when we went to the conference, did we get 6 hours to be able to add because it's by fiscal year? Am I correct in saying that we should already have 6 hours for that? This next year you said yes for that.
We did receive 6.
So we need 3.
And we got to get the other 3 from the whole governance training that we're going to
So,
that will make our 9 hours.
so I am looking at the choices here for the online requirement, and there are 4. We could do this online. There are 4 courses here: building community, board ethics, educational equity, or the Super 6, unless someone else from our board. That's Super 6 top questions. Unless someone else from our board has any other suggestions for that. We need to really be nailing that down and work on getting the next 3 hours of whole board. And if we could do it online, that would be the best way, in my opinion. So, does anyone have any suggestions about that from our board?
Madam Chair, I did follow up. If you recall, had asked me to contact Valerie Wilson and Sam King back in the spring. They were on our schedule to come and do our training. I did follow back up about doing a virtual training for us. And Mr. King told me last week that Valerie was out of the office last week, but he would be getting back with me this week with a time and date for that. And that he was aware of the date coming up. So I'm expecting to hear from him this week. But of course, the online training is an option.
Okay, so Mr. Dixon, will you let us know through text or email? Let us know as soon as you hear for that, so we can start putting that on our calendar. And that's something that maybe our board members can start looking at. That we need to be looking at our 3 hours of whole board training by the end of September. And so how it's going to be done, we need to figure that out, and how it's going to be done and where, if it's virtual or if it's with restrictions and in place, that kind of thing. And then hopefully we'll have that nailed down before our next meeting so that we can, we'll have the whole month of September, or we'll have that time, maybe a week or 2 to plan of when that's going to be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions about that?
Miss Chairman Rainey, there is also a date that I need to look up. Mr. Smith, that worked in Twiggs County for a long time, is turning. Oh, well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right.
I think
Ms. Fletcher, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we need to do the virtual training for the 3 hours. If we can do it that way, I think that would be great.
Okay, so Mr. Dixon, you're going to investigate that for us and let us know about the first, see if we can do the training virtually.
Yes, ma'am. I should have an answer. He told me he would get with me this week, so I should have an answer either tomorrow by Friday.
All right. Thank you for that.
Johnny.
Turn your mic on, Ms. Rainey. Unmute your mic, Ms. Rainey.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so our first item is the school opening recap. Mr. Dixon and principals, thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much. There are just a few recaps that I would like to do from the opening of school. It's been an exciting time. I've had an opportunity to go around to some of the classrooms and to see some of the teachers, and they're up and teaching their hearts out, and to hear some of the interactions that are going on, and even from some of the grandparents to hear some of their exhaustion, that there's a new appreciation for teachers, I can tell you. But it's also, with the new appreciation, it also touches my heart, because I just wonder sometimes what would it be like if my grandmother was trying to do that for me. So I'm always aware of that as well. So I want to start with Ms. Reese Jenkins, the principal at JES this afternoon. And we've been talking about some of the, I won't even say concerns, but just some of the issues that arise as we're charting this uncharted waters. And we will start with Ms. Jenkins, and then we will go right into with Mr. Harris and give him an opportunity as well. So, Ms. Jenkins, would you start us off this afternoon?
Absolutely. So, as we know, we began school. We're 7 days in now, and our educators have been amazing with their resilience and their flexibility. Each one of them have reached out to you to try and help you get in the system. They've taught lessons. They've administered teaching lessons for our parents as well. And so everybody in that building, JES, has been engaging our students and making sure that this transition from brick and mortar to virtual has been a pleasurable experience. We've had some kinks, and we have worked together to make sure that our students could log in with their student ID numbers and navigate from one place to another. And I will tell you that our pre-K babies perform just as well as our fifth graders because, you know, you teach them and they are so resilient. I do want to take a moment to talk about our schedule. And so if you have a kid who's in pre-K, of course, their schedule looks a little different. We've tried to model and follow the format that's been presented by Bright from the start. And if you're in kindergarten, first grade, you have somewhat of similarities in the schedule because we know that's an all-encompassing experience with one teacher. I want to talk more about the fifth grade because that's where you're going to see the variation of our schedule. And so if you're entering a classroom and with the student ID number, you're often going to see that teacher is going to be available for our scholars at 8:15. If you're looking at the schedule here, it just says class open, which means if mom, grandparent, aunt, whoever is there with that child has a question, they can come in and ask questions of the teacher. It is also a time for our students to get in and say good morning to each other, just have that normal flow of school that they would have if they were matriculating within the walls. And then at 8:30 to 8:45, the administrators have recorded our pledge and our JES promise, and we're trying to make sure that we showcase exactly what happens at the school in our traditional day. The variation comes, and I presented the fifth grade schedule because I think that's going to provide the most clarity for most people. Fifth grade, you'll notice here that they begin with a connections class. They enter their homeroom class, the teacher orientates them, they get excited about learning, and then they leave there, and our students can navigate from one place to another, and then they go to connection. And there's a teacher there waiting. They're going to either experience music, PE, or keyboarding, computer skills. And they'll stay there anywhere from 8:50 to 9:20. Now, the teacher stays for the entire hour just to make sure that the students have any needs or concerns or just want to chat it out. There's an opportunity for that. And then there would be a break. So they would get up, they would move about, they would go and have a great time, do whatever they needed to do at home, maybe eat another bowl of cereal. They mastered the snacks at home. I'm sure you're contending with that. Then at 10 to 11, they would have Miss Alexander for math or ELA or social studies. And then there'd be a break. So there would be 1 hour of instruction, and then they would move into their lunch and recess. And that really much is what they would have if they were at school. And so that would be like that 55-minute break there. And then they would go again, depending on which teacher they didn't encounter first, they'd go to Mr. Harris's class or Miss Evans' class. And that would be the continuity of the day. And then at 2 o'clock, that would be small group. And so that moment is left there for if the teacher notices that Johnny needs a little bit more of assistance or he needs to be accelerated, they left time so they can engage those students. That is also where you've seen most of our teachers in the fifth grade in particular have those counseling moments with the parents. Maybe we need to talk about, everybody needs to get up and put on their shirt when they start class, or we need to make sure that our environment is conducive for learning. And so this is pretty much the structure of our day. Each one of our classes has like a built-in break. Sometimes it's around lunchtime. If you have a pre-K student, that's going to be earlier in the day. And again, theirs is, here and there immersed within that learning instructional day. But for the most part, our teachers are engaging our student. Not for the most part, they're always doing that, but they're engaging our student and moving along in the day and making sure that we build in that flexibility for stretch breaks and bathroom breaks and just time for them to enjoy their families. We know sitting in front of the computer can be somewhat challenging, but we try to make the lessons engaging, and when they break, they're good and ready for a break. Hopefully, many of them are going to bed by 9 because we need them up, fresh, and ready to learn the next day. But that is the schedule that many of our students are encountering at JES. It's been a fantastic experience. Our students are meeting and exceeding beyond our imagination. They are very resilient. I want to thank each one of the families for what you've done to get our kids there. I think our parents are learning too. And so everybody's going back to school.
And in our discussion, I wanted to know what our attendance has been like thus far. So we think we're around maybe about 70%.
Yes, sir.
Real good, I think, with this new concept that we've got right now. We want it certainly at 90 to 100, but right now around 70% is what Ms. Jenkins told me earlier. Is where
and those students who are absent, Mr. Dixon, those families are calling. Some of them may be they're waiting on a computer to come that's not from us, and they didn't want to get one from us, or it could be they're waiting on a hotspot, but they're still calling and checking in every single day because they really want to be involved in the lesson. And so now that the team is distributing the hotspots, I know that our numbers for attendance are going to increase. And I thank our families for they have met again and exceeded our expectations with that. So it's about 70%, Mr. Dixon.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Harris if he would come on and give us a briefing of what our schedule looks like at the middle high school.
All right, greetings, Cobra family. As Ms. Jenkins said, we are excited about what we're doing. It is challenging for everyone. So we just appreciate you for being patient with us, working with us as we try and attempt to give your children the best education possible. As Mr. Dixon stated, it's about the same 70%, maybe 75% of participation that we have thus far. We are aware of the hotspots being sent out this week, so we know that will probably go up as well. But we have received calls, knowing that the parents do want their students on and things of that nature. We've also had to explain some things where they have more than one child in the home. And we've also been working through those questions to tell them how they can navigate through that. And how we combat that is teachers are asked to record the lessons. So if the student logs on and completes that assignment anytime during that day, they're counted present. So they will not be marked absent as long as they log on and do the assignment. That gives us record that they did at least get into the class, because we are aware that if it's more than one child, just one device, it's virtually impossible for all of those children to get on at the same time. So that's why we have that option there. We also have our one of our teachers, Mr. Tony. He is actually our tech guy or our go-to guy. When parents have questions, they call the school and we relay them to Mr. Tony, and he's the one that actually answers those questions. He relays information back out to the teachers. He contacts teachers so they will know where they are as far as all their students logging in. Now, this schedule that you see posted, you see it says TCPS Bell schedule. The reason that I chose to show this is because 6th to 12th grade, we wanted their experience to be much like they were still in school. Being that they have several different classes and several teachers, the most efficient way that we can make this happen, it will have to be much like a school day as possible. Each student, they have their schedules, which are available on Infinite Campus, and those whose schedules weren't as they wanted them, or if they wanted changes or things of that nature, our counselor, Dr. Foster, has tirelessly worked on those. So we worked out most of those kinks. But as you see, the schedule is just like the students were in school if they were here physically. Transition to first period, we even left that there. So if you're in your home, I get you transitioning from the bed, brushing your teeth or whatever you're doing, and then you're ready. First period comes 7:50. We do know that, the children may not get on exactly at 7:50. Teachers are giving a little leeway time for them to get on, but we're trying to keep it as much as possible like regular school. If you look at fourth period block, all the teachers have been advised to let their students have their lunches toward the beginning of the block. So that will be 11:05, 20 or 30 minutes, and then they reconvene with their students after they have their lunches. So all teachers are doing that. Actually, today I got a call from a senior that had some questions, and I was just excited to speak with her. And she did thank me that everything was kind of the normal, even though they're not in the building. She liked that it was still the same schedule and things like that, so it was easy for them to follow. So I thought that was good, coming from an actual student from the school. And I did assure her that we're working hard to try to keep things as normal as possible for every student, but especially those seniors. We know how important that is. We know how monumental that milestone is. So I did assure her that everything in our power, we're going to make sure it still happens. For one thing, we still have senior pictures coming up soon. They've gotten all their information. So we're trying to make everything roll as normal as much as possible within our reach. So like Ms. Jenkins stated, it's different, but it is, I'm learning as well about this virtual learning, but we will continue to work tirelessly to make sure that we give your children the best education possible, considering the circumstances. So, Madam Chair, that kind of gives us an opening of our recap of the opening of school. And as we will continue to go and we will have some dialogue with our board about some things that we would like to see. I know we've had some calls and some things about the length of the day, the time, the amount of time that students are engaged. So we will have those discussions and we will come back and make whatever necessary adjustments that we need to make. But we are very appreciative for the efforts that are going forward. So that kind of takes care of what I had for that area.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Madam Chair, no questions. I'm sorry, Ms. Blackshear. You can proceed.
No, I was just gonna say with the 30%, I know we said around 70%. So with the 30%, is that mainly because they don't have Wi-Fi, or is it because they don't have the Chromebook? What is it that you think is lacking with the 30%?
Well, I think we will see an increase in that because we started with the hotspot distribution today. So I think we'll see an increase in that within the week. I do think we'll see an increase in that because of connectivity may have been one of our issues, and getting out some more devices. That's one of the things.
I know you said we only had like 150 for the internet. Do you think that that's going to be enough? You think that you guys will be able to order some more through the CARES, or if we need more?
Well, Ms. Blackshear, that depends on your motion and a second and 3 votes.
All right. We just make sure that all of our children have something to actually work with,
Yes, ma'am. But we are reevaluating it. Just we've had discussions as late as today concerning about that we will be reevaluating to see what we can get out.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris.
Superintendent Dixon, Madam Chair, fellow board members, and to our wonderful team here in Tweeds County, I would just like to say thank you for a job well done in this rollout. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins and your staff at JES for doing a phenomenal job, as this is different for our district, but I think you have done a phenomenal job, and I only see increase in our future. And Mr. Harris, to you and your team at the middle high school, thank you so much for you have been open to suggestions from this team, and you have been taking superintendent's advice. In addition to, you have heard the hearts of our community. I thank you so much for doing a good job, and being attentive to Tweeds County in this season under this leadership. Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough. I see the growth in our district, and I see us on a road to major success. So thank you, Superintendent Dixon, for your leadership. Thank you, team, for a job well done, and thank you for being in Tweeds County.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Harris. Thank you for that. And thank you for the presentations, Ms. Jenkins and Mr. Harris. Thank you. All right. Our next item is going to be item B, and that is the tax anticipation note. This is an action item. Mr. Austin.
All right. Good evening, fellow board members, board chair, Superintendent Dixon, constituent of the community. So last year, we had the opportunity again to provide a tax anticipated note in order for us to meet operational obligations. And with that, we've been able to do the same this year. Last board meeting, we presented some information that we needed $850,000, and which was a $200,000 increase from last year. And part of being with that, because we had the reduction in state funding, so we wanted to ensure we had enough to cover that deficit. And I'm very confident that with that particular plan that we have, we'll be in good shape going forward. I do want to commend the staff and administrative team for being supportive in this time, because they have really been nimble and flexible and creative in ensuring that we can meet the instruction needs of the students and the operational needs. So that has really helped in this particular season. And with that, due to state and some of their processing delays for reimbursements, we would have been in the same boat last year and having this probably in September. So there's no progress is not being, I guess, reversed in this season just due to some delays in process that I want to ensure we had what we needed. So what we did this particular season, we bid to 4 banks, and those particular banks were Morris for County, Cadence, and Bank of Dudley. And out of those banks, we received 2 responses, one for Bank of Dudley, which they have officially submitted their bid, and another bank, which they wanted banking relationships. And we've been down that road before, so we understand how some banks want those type relationships. So Mr. Basley, if you can present the bid. From Bank of Dudley. And while he's getting that, there we go. All right, so this is the bid that came forth. Good interest rates, no other fees outside of that they were able to meet our loan expectation. And of course, legally, we're obligated to pay this back by December 31st, 2020. Historically, we have always paid 1 by the deadline and 2 before the deadline. So we're looking to save interest in that as well. So pending approval tonight, we'll be able to retrieve those funds in order for us to ensure we meet operational obligations. Any questions or concerns about any of that?
Yes, sir, Mr. Austin. What is the difference between the percentage rate from this year and last year?
It's about the same, but honestly, I believe it's a little better with that. It's 2.75%, so that's the awesome rate. Yes, ma'am.
And I see on the format, they're not charging any other fees, they're just charging the 2.75%.
Yes, ma'am.
No other fees or charges for that. Okay.
Correct.
And the $8,000 of the amount, that is only depending on whether or not we use the entire amount or the entire time.
You're correct.
Right. Okay.
And just to clarify, that percentage last year, I'm sorry, that percentage last year was 3.5%. So it is a lot less this year.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions?
You shared a copy of the other quotes with the board, right?
This is the only quote we received, Mr. Dixon. And that was shared with them. Yes, sir.
And you did state all the banks that we did send it to.
Yes, sir. And I can restate those: Morris, Fort County, Cadence, and Bank of Dudley. And Cadence Bank mentioned they wanted bank relationships, and we had the other 2 with no responses by the deadline.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
If there's no further discussion, Madam Chair, I will seek approval for our TAN for $850,000 for this year from Bank of Dudley.
Okay, so you've heard Mr. Austin's, you've seen and heard his presentation. You've heard our superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve the tax anticipation notice from the Bank of Dudley as presented?
Madam Chair, I make the motion.
The motion's been made by Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rouse. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Ms. Stokes said aye.
Say aye. If you aye. Those say aye. Those opposed?
I oppose.
Okay. So that's 4-4 because I say aye and 1 opposed. That motion carries. Thank you for that presentation. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm toggling back and forth between my notes. So our next item on the agenda
Accreditation.
Our next item is our accreditation presentation. This is an information item. Ms. Reardon.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, board members, and our stakeholders. Just like we have to continue teaching our students during a pandemic, we also have to meet accreditation requirements during a pandemic. And just like there are changes going on in the world around us that we must adjust to, we have to adjust to some accreditation changes as well. With that being said, our accreditation is valid through June the 30th, 2023. So how did we get to this place? Because several of you were with us when we went through the last accreditation period, and there's a lot of work that was going on behind the scenes and with you as well. So how did we get to this point? The first thing is you see on the slides in front of you, way back in the day, we had SACS that some of you are familiar with, SACS accreditation. And then that turned into the advanced ed. And you see on the screen that it was advanced ed and SACS was part of advanced ed. And then it became just advanced ed. And so we adjusted to that change the last time we went through accreditation. Well, then last year, it changed again, not because of COVID. This happened at the very beginning of the school year last year. We have a new name, but the same process that is called Cognia. That is advanced ed and measured progress came together, and the company Cognia was created with both of those two arms part of that company. And so Cognia is now the company that's going to be in charge of our accreditation that we're going to be going through. With this, we had some options that we could do. We had some options for delaying accreditation engagement review. And it just so happens that in the midst of all of this, COVID came as well. And we opted for this delay because there are new standards and new protocols that were going to be coming out, and we would have to go through those new standards and protocols. So we didn't want to do that in the middle of our accreditation period. So this will extend it until that period is over. And then we start with the new standards and the new protocol. There is no lapse in our accreditation. It is now extended until June the 30th, 2023. Those new standards and the new protocols will be available in 2021. And in the fall of 2021, they will begin the training for that. Our engagement review will then be scheduled in 2023. That's when they come on to into Twiggs County, and we go through a process a lot like what we did before, but not quite as extensive, because with accreditation and with Cognia, just like it was with advanced ed, we are expected to do continuous improvement process. And there's documentation that goes along with that, not just the year that they come, but every year in between. There is a platform that is available for us to include this documentation. So we will continue with our continuous improvement process with this documentation. But until then, they have sent us new certificates. On the next slide, Mr. Basley, they can see the new certificates. There is one for the district, one for each school. These will be framed and displayed. Mr. Dixon wanted us to present them to you first so that you knew when these new certificates go up, you know what they are going up, because they don't say advanced ed on them. They say Cognia, and it's our new certificate of accreditation. And we have a new date and seal that's signed by Cognia, and it says that it's valid through June the 30th on 2023 is at the bottom of these certificates. And we are going to work to get these framed with some nice frames so that they can be prominently displayed in the district and in the schools. We just wanted to make sure that you were aware of what the process was, why we're not going through that at this time, and the fact that it is a new accreditation agency that is over this process as well.
Thank you for that, Ms. Reardon. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you for that presentation, and congratulations to our staff for the accreditation until 2023. And we are in the process of continuous improvement. So with the silence, I'm going to move on with the next item. And this is an action item. And this is an FY21 bond bus. This is a recommendation and action item. Mr. Bacon.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and stakeholders. Mr. Basley, could you put up the presentation? It's good to see everybody, and I hope everybody is well. And this is a bit of good news. For 3 years in a row, we've earned a bond bus, which is quite amazing since our FTE would say otherwise, but the state has given us a bus. We got a new bus last year, and we will get a new bus this year. Now, when the state says a new bus, they allocate amount of $77,220. Next slide, please. So the actual cost of purchase is 72 passenger bus. And by the way, I talked with Mr. Dixon as well as Ron Chapman, our head mechanic, and he does a lot of the routing and making kind of the decisions of what bus we need where. In the last couple of years, we bought the 92 passenger buses. We thought that was what we needed. This year, the thought is that if we, with the board's approval, we would get Miss Rose, who drives the bus to Macon. Her bus is 13, and it's in excellent condition for the bus that it is. She keeps an immaculate bus. We would move that off that long route and give her a new bus. Has almost 180, 200,000 miles on it. So we would give her a new bus if so allowed. So a typical bus to purchase is $82,421. And a Type C bus is $93,000 fully. The same bus is $93,000 fully equipped. Next slide. So what is the cost to the district? So a base bus would be $5,000, the cost to the district. Well, what does a base bus include? No air conditioning, no radios, no cameras, no mud flaps, the tires, different kinds of tires. So we don't really get a base bus because, we need those things on the bus. So a fully equipped bus, the cost to the district, that's with air conditioning. And now we're using air purification systems on our buses. We have long routes, especially those kids are going to Macon. It's almost an hour and 30-minute route one way. Will cost the district a total of $13,800 for a fully equipped bus. That is not a bad deal at all. The Bluebird bus company representative was out here today. And if we order before September 13th, we can get our bus by February. And that would be just really fantastic. So I think for us to get 3 bond buses in a row and be able to do this for our fleet to keep our maintenance costs down is really quite a blessing. So Mr. Dixon, I would love for the board to take up purchasing the bond bus for this year.
Okay, and one question that I have is, how would the $13,000 be funded? Where would those funds? In other words, how we're going to pay for it if we had 13,000?
Well, Mr. Rainey, that's where we will have to take a look at and see where we are going to, whether that we will get that out of our general fund or whether we will get that out of our SPOS. That's what we will look at.
But either way, it's not going to break us or put us in the red?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any other questions?
And I would also like to say, normally we never earn this many buses year after year. Normally we would earn a chassis or a seat. So we've been very fortunate. And our bus fleet have improved tremendously. Ms. Stokes and Ms. Blackshear can attest to that. Our bus fleet has improved tremendously. And I'm just grateful that what our kids are riding on now compared to what we were riding on 8 years ago. It's a blessing. I know our former transportation director, Mr. Basley, is just excited when he see what we're riding on now. We're riding on Cadillacs now.
Mr. Harris, did you have a question?
So I'll add on to your question. What would as this is an action item, I do believe, Mr. Bacon, Superintendent Dixon, or Assistant Superintendent Bacon, Assistant Superintendent Dixon, what would be our funding source? I think as tonight it's an action item. We would need to know if that would be SPLOST money or if it would be general funds.
Okay. Mr. Austin, what would be your recommendation? Will we use SPLOST or will we use general fund for? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. My recommendation would be SPLOST, Mr. Dixon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions? All right, Mr. Dixon, your recommendation?
Madam Chair, I would seek approval for a bond bus for us to get a new bus this year.
All right, is there a motion from our board to approve the bond bus as presented or as recommended?
I want to make that motion.
The motion's been made by Mr. Rouse. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Ms. Blackshear. Is there any further discussion? And just to be clear, Mr. Rouse and Ms. Blackshear, are you making the motion and seconding the bond bus in the fully equipped with the extra 13,000 to come out of SPOS funds?
Yes, that will present it to me.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you for that. And Ms. Blackshear, you are the same with your second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, the motion has been made and seconded to approve the bond bus as presented, the fully equipped, and the funds coming from SPOS. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And Ms. Stokes said aye, and I say aye. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Bacon. And I thank you for that. And we love writing in style. That's good for our students. Once we do get back and get ready to ride, we'll be writing in style. That's great. Okay, Mr. Bacon, I'm glad you didn't go anywhere because I believe you're on deck again. And the next item is an information item, and that is about our roofing project.
Yes, ma'am. The superintendent wanted me to inform the board about some emergency type roofing project, roofing repairs that we had to do, look at getting done here at the central office, because it's gotten to the point that we're looking at the structural and the integrity of the building here, as well as the overall health of some of the employees here. So next slide, Mr. Bassler. We looked at in last summer, and I presented to the superintendent, because we had River's Edge over here, and they wanted some roofing repairs, and we looked at different things from, putting on a top with tin. We looked at different things, and it was running us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And of course, we all understand our budgetary situation in the county, and our restrictions to doing things. So we try to do some few repairs, pour some tar, try to mitigate those things. But as of late, the situation has gotten worse. As you know, we've had some, not just rain this summer, but some heavy rain during the past year. So this past couple of weeks here. So we need to do some stopgap and mitigation repairs. Next slide. And as you can see, in what I call it the professional learning room. It's the computer, lab here in the board room, the board area. We really don't use it anymore. And right now you can see the second picture is where it's all out now. Not all, but going on the side, we had to take it all out. I had Mr. Broderick and the guys take it all out because it was falling out. Because it's about to fall out, and the mold and the mildew, and we sprayed it because it was just getting that bad and the water was pouring in. So we got to do something to kind of take care of this, and we can't put a whole roof on it, but we got to do some stopgap repairs, or else it's going to move, and as you know, as it gets worse, it's going to migrate itself over. We really don't have that many leaks over in the main area. We do have a few, and we need to take care of those. Next slide, please. The areas that we're going to repair, the computer lab area and the restroom area, the restrooms on the River's Edge Annex area. The ceiling is actually falling in. We need to repair that. 3 classrooms on the River's Edge area because it's just so bad. So we want to keep the water from seeping in. And you saw in one of the pictures as it's popping up the tiles on the floor. And several spots, not very many, located within the main annex where we are, to handle that. And the cost for that was $24,500. We are lucky. We saved some money on our air HVAC repairs this summer. But these repairs are needed so that we can keep this building intact until something else is decided for the central office, whether, to fix the whole thing, move the whole thing, or whatever is decided in the future. So thank you very much.
So what would be the use of that area of that annex once the repairs are done?
Well, it's two things. We can use the area. I don't know. We can use it. Well, we can use it, but it's really to stop the roof from disintegrating any further if we're going to be here. So that's the main purpose, is to stop the roof from disintegrating in the areas from disintegrating any further. And this is just the first step in that. Now, the area that we're calling the professional learning area, we're going to be able to recover that whole room eventually. So the repair in that area will actually be space that the central office doesn't use now that we will regain. So we'll be able to reuse that. Once we fix the ceiling, the roof, and fix the ceiling tile, which are two separate things, we'll regain the use of that and be able to hold classes or meetings and things in that room that we don't do now because of the mold and other things. So we'll be able to regain that space.
And it will definitely help us to be able to do our 6 feet and our distance that we need to do. Even if we had to have our board meeting in that room, we could meet in there and be able to have our distance, as opposed to where we could not necessarily in our boardroom.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's much need to be done in that room. A lot of times when we're having meetings that we need to have, we house Family Connections here in our building. If there's a community group that needs to have a meeting within our Family Connections, any other community group that needs to meet during the day, our boardroom is the only room that we have. That room, we often allow somebody to use it if there's a conflict of time. But it just hasn't been presentable or able to be used, but it will be utilized more than what we think. Yeah.
And so the 24,000 is just for the roof repair. I think Mr. Bacon's already kind of answered that, but that's just for the roof repair. It's not for the repair of the inside structure.
Right. That's correct. Right. And we're talking in that room, probably, it's not very much. We just probably, I'm gonna call it 350 to 400 square feet of drop ceiling that would need to be replaced once we, spray it for mold and things like that. So it's not that expensive to get it back online once we fix the roof.
And the main building is over in my office.
Okay. So but now that cost is not talking about repairing the leaks in the main building.
Yes,
it is.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So, so this repair, how long, in other words, how good will this repair be? We're talking about we can't put a whole new roof up. Is that just going to bide a little bit of time, or what would be the expected outcome of that and the use of that in the future?
Well, over the professional learning area, I expect to get 10 to 15 years of that, because we're going to redo the whole, because when you look at the central office, it's several different buildings with 7 different building elevations. So it's not just one roof. So you have several, right. So that's why you can't just patch it here and patch it there. So that's why when you go to the professional learning room, you got to do the whole thing because it's a different roof elevation. So that you're getting a whole new buttness, tar layman, they're moving the rocks. They're doing all of that in that area because the leaks are so extensive. And you kind of get in little patch areas, where we think we can get away with it there. But that area is different. So you're going to get the lifetime of about, 10 to 15 years over there on that. Now, when we patch Mr. Dixon's office, it's about, 4 or 5 ceiling tiles that's really affected. So you're going to do an area about twice that. So you give it about a year or two that you hope longer, but if we get that, then you're happy with that, until we can do that.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Madam Chair, this has not been a conversation at large since I've been on the board, but I think we have hinted around. Superintendent Dixon has made some remarks that we do have to make a decision about our central office location. And so I have seen the leaks. I got a little leak on yesterday while I was there. It is a situation that we need to address. However, in that room that we're discussing, that room should actually be the board room. That room that we meet in for board, that we call the board room, should be a conference room, as we anticipate or expect the community to be involved in coming, and with social distancing, it would be a good fix. So I can see that being a project. The larger conversation sounds like is we need to have an immediate conversation or a call meeting to discuss the future of our central office, because we don't know if we want to invest $24,000+ in a roof for that area. However, I do see some potential in that building. I'm no contractor. I'm no carpenter. I don't know what the lifespan of that building would be. But before we take on what we could consider a small project like $24,000, I would love to hear the board's consensus of what we would do for the next few years, or how do we anticipate creating a strategic plan to come up with a better idea for our central office, or if we're looking to remodel or get something new. I would just love to hear that conversation. So tonight, I don't know if this is an action item. I hate to skip back to try to see to change my screen, but if it is, I would move in the favor of the consensus of the board, and however the board feels, I will definitely be on the team. But I do think it's a larger conversation to have in the near future.
Okay, thank you for that. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? All right, Mr. Dixon, your recommendation, please.
Well, there's a leak in this old building, and it has been for some time. And as Mr. Harris said, I'm not a contractor, but I do lean to Mr. Bacon in regards to mitigating leaks and things of that nature. And when he talks about that leak getting worse, we can't really take for much more risk of it getting worse. The larger conversation is that we do have to for the near future, but I know just looking 2-3 years down the road, that's not something that we will be able to do for 2-3, but for long range planning, that is a discussion that we've got to have. What will we do 2-3 years? But we've got to have a roof over our heads right now. So with that in mind, I will seek approval for the repair of the roof, in addition to for us to have further conversation.
You got it on the agenda as an information item.
Is it for information? Well, we will table it until our next, well, we will have it for information tonight. Thank you, Mr. Rouse.
Yes, sir, and it will be next time. It will be as an action item, Mr. Dixon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that was information only. Thank you for that information. We will certainly take that under advisement. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Could we possibly, as a team, possibly schedule to discuss a little bit more, just to get some ideas in the meantime before we accept that as an action item? Can the board agree to have a discussion a little bit more in depth to discuss our future in the board office?
Is that the consensus of our other board members? It would just be my opinion that this repair would need to go first, and then we would need to schedule some food. That's just my opinion. But what is the opinion of our other board members? But I would like to hear, and I would like to hear, Mr. Bay, I would like to hear our operations people, and I would like to hear our staff have some ideas about what would be the future of our projects. That should be part of our strategic plan and our plan moving forward. And I would like to hear what our staff would say about that as well. But in my opinion, I think if you have a leak, you're going to have to fix it right away. And you're just going to have to spend that money and fix it, and then talk about what the future of our facilities are going to be. But what is the other opinion? What's the other feeling?
Well, my opinion of it is we do need to think about looking for
Mr. Rouse, your mic went off.
We do need to think about what we got to do at the central office, but right now it kind of seems like an emergency, kind of like preventive maintenance, because we have meeting every 2 weeks. We keep having rain like this. I mean, it's more of a crisis for the whole building. Even if we decide to keep that building there and we don't repair it right now, it's gonna get worse and gonna cause more repair. I'd rather see us spend $24,000 now, something that we can live with, than to keep putting it off and end up not being able to afford anything. So that's my opinion. So I have no gripe with looking down the road, but right now, this will buy us time to look down the road.
All right, do we have any other thoughts?
I'm in agreement with you all, with all three of you. We do get repair done as soon as possible. I guess since it's raining, it's raining a lot, so we definitely need to take care of that. And then we can have a discussion on what we're looking for in the future. I'm in agreement with that.
Ms. Stokes, are you in agreement as well? Go ahead and turn your mic on. I don't hear what she's saying.
She's in agreement.
I think she's saying she's in agreement with that. So our next meeting, that will be an action item for us, because tonight is an information item. Okay. So that concludes our business agenda. I will make sure for this evening. And at this time, I entertain a motion to enter into executive session for personnel matters.
I move that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rouse. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and a thumbs up for Ms. Stokes. So we are in executive session and we shall return. Thank you. there a motion to return to regular session from executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by
Second.
Mr. Is There's a second by Ms. Blackshear. All in favor, please raise your hands or say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And in our executive session, we discussed personnel matters. And is there a motion to approve our superintendent's recommendation regarding special ed director?
I'll make that motion.
The motion has been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second? I do not see or hear a second, so that unless you need more time, please let me know. And that motion fails, so no action on that part. So at this time, that concludes what we discussed, our personnel matters. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
The motion's been made by Ms. Stokes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rouse. All in favor, please raise your hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.